Warning, the following video contains mentions of characters and stuff from other things that do not belong to me. Please do not copyright strike me. And thank you and enjoy the video. Ayo, what's good? It's your homie Z, back in the building with another video. And most recently, I have watched the Dogman animated film adaptation. Now, I understand that I'm a bit late to the party with this one since this film came out in 2024, but I figured that I'd actually take a look at it before it left Netflix. Now, I know that this seems weird since this is the second time I'm reviewing a piece of animated media, and this isn't really a review channel, but just like TADC, I care deeply about the Dogman series. I remember being a little kid when the first book came out and absolutely falling in love with it. Well, much to my mother's dismay. She was a hater and didn't like quote-unquote juvenile humor, even though I was, a child. And for a short period of time, I was unfortunately not allowed to read the books because of said quote-unquote juvenile humor. It's literally a kid's book. How more juvenile can you get? Luckily, by the time I entered late elementary school, I was finally able to read the books again, and honestly, it had changed a lot more from when I had first started reading them. Yes, it still had quote-unquote juvenile humor, but it also had messages of doing good and being compassionate, which is always something that I can get behind. I own the first 10 books and a plushie. Dogman was basically my favorite book series growing up. So when I found out that there was going to be an animated film adaptation, I was ecstatic. I mean, DreamWorks already hit it out of the park with their Captain Underpants film, aka the other more popular book series written by Dave Pilkey. So they couldn't mess up the Dogman film, right? Well, we are going to find that out as I share with you my thoughts on Dogman 2025. Starting off with the animation. It's clear that the film Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse has made quite the impact on the animated film industry, with tons of current animated movies taking inspiration from that movie's art style, not to mention the slower frame rate. However, unlike most current animated films where I feel like that style of animation is just becoming more stale and overused, I feel like it really worked with Dogman. And I say this because I feel like the sort of stylized and slow frame rate animation style fits well with movies and shows that are more based off of comics. And Dogman, the film, is based off of what now? A children's graphic novel series. So I believe that this style of animation is what made this movie really great. Specifically from a visual standpoint, there's a bunch of other things that made it really great. Like, for example, the fact that they perfectly managed to capture the energy and lore of the best character in the entire series, Petey the Cat. Now, if you ask me, Petey has always been a surprisingly deep character for a book series made for 8-year-olds. If anything, I feel like he's always been meant to be relatable for the older people that are reading the books with their kids or watching the movie with their kids. Because the struggle of trying to stay optimistic and innocent in a world filled with so much hatred and anger is so real, and that gets harder as you grow older. And while yes, I don't think many people can relate to the daddy and abandonment issues, I do think a lot of people can relate to the struggle of not living up to their parents' expectations or not being able to please their parents. And how that can also cause said people to lash out on others and act the same way that their parents were towards them when they were younger. Again, surprisingly deep for a story made for 8-year-olds. But just like the books, I think that the film managed to capture his sort of internal struggle with trying to be happy or good in a world that's done him so dirty. I think that was translated very well into the movie. Mind you, his character arc had to be shortened due to the runtime, but I still think that they did a pretty good job. Speaking of being faithful to the source material, half my viewing of this movie was me going, I understood that reference, and he said it. Like I said, I read the books all the time as a kid, so I caught at least 90% of the references that were featured in the film. I even really enjoyed how they translated some of the more emotional moments from the books into the movie. And call me sensitive or a baby, but I genuinely almost cried during the end because it made me remember why I fell in love with the series when I was a kid. As for characters, I'd say everyone was relatively on point with their book counterparts, but the one thing I wasn't exactly expecting was shocking depth for the short king himself, Dogman. I mean, the books did give him a bit of depth in, honestly, one of my favorite books from the series, number 6, Brawl the Wild. Basically showing Dogman's struggle of trying to fit in with humans but not being able to because part dog, and not being able to fit in with dogs because, well, part man. And yeah, on paper it's kind of silly, but now that I'm older and I identify as a non-binary person, I can definitely understand why that's aged so well for me. In a world where the gender binary is the norm and society expects you to fit into either the regular girl stereotype or the regular boy stereotype, it's weird for people like me to have to be set into one of those boxes by society, which is why I made an entire haiku about it a few years ago. You should go check that video out. The movie kind of touches on this, but it's more about Dogman's relationship with his former owner than it is an internal struggle. Again, not as good as what Brawl of the Wild did, but pretty good nonetheless. Another thing that the film managed to capture perfectly was the whimsy of the books. Dave Pilkey in general is fantastic at being able to capture that childhood whimsy and silliness. And the dialogue and animation were really able to capture that same childhood innocence and whimsy from the books, and were able to put it into the movie. And just like the books, the movie could be sickly wholesome at points. Like, it was so sweet. Specifically, Lil Petey's son, and his relationship with Dogman. It's just so adorable. I also really liked Chief and Dogman's interactions too. Those are pretty cute. While I'm on the subject of character interactions, there was a lot of Dogman x Petey shipping fuel in this movie. I know it wasn't intentional, but I don't care. I love Yowie. The only real problems I had with the film aren't even really problems. They're just minor nitpicks. And that mostly comes from the books that they decided to adapt into a film. Like, it was the first 3 books, but also not really. It was the first 3 books and For Whom the Ball Rolls, because Petey's abusive father is in this film. And unlike the book that he shows up in, well, similar to the book that he shows up in, he doesn't really do much. He's just being a douchebag, and then he leaves. He takes all of his son's stuff from his house and leaves, just like the book. I hope that if they make a second movie, we'll be able to see Petey's dad do a little bit more than he did in this film. However, even with all that said, there is a main reason why I loved this movie and why I loved the books growing up. It's because both of them carry this, like, energy of being innocent yet experienced. And what I mean by that is, like, having this childlike wonder and optimism, yet also understanding that the world isn't exactly the best place, but we have to do what we can. I don't want to say that I had a bad childhood, but growing up as a neurodivergent kid with some untapped or unresolved trauma, it was pretty hard. I was constantly bullied and felt like I would never be good enough for anyone. I dealt with a lot of anxiety and depression, and there were points where I didn't even want to live anymore. But Dave Pilkey's series showed younger me, that even if the world isn't the best right now, even if what you're going through isn't the best right now, you matter. You can do it. No matter where you come from, no matter what your skin color, your gender identity, yes, I'm paraphrasing RM, no matter who you are or what your background is, whether you've had a good life or a bad life, you are capable of being happy. And you do not know how much younger me and even me now needed to hear that. And it's because of that I may be a bit biased, but I give this movie a 10 out of 10. Again, this could just be personal bias and because of all the good that this series did for me as a younger kid, but I think that this is honestly one of my favorite films, one of my favorite animated films. So yeah, I don't really think I have much else to say. If you haven't seen the Dogman film already, you should go check it out. It probably won't do as much for you as it did for me, but I still think you should check it out. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please drop a like. Do not forget to subscribe, and I will see you all next time. Take care.